and welcome to the Homeschool family. In today's video, I wanted to go over kindergarten curriculums and just tell you what we used and what we didn't use, and what worked and what didn't. So I have a list right here that I wrote at the beginning of the school year of all the stuff that I was planning on using, and now I'll just tell you that I end up using it or not. So let's start with language arts. My main curriculum that I was planning on using is Logic of English Foundations, Level B. We used it at the beginning of the school year and it really just didn't work. It didn't work for my daughter. I really don't know what went wrong because I was really excited about using this curriculum. I bought the online version because the online version comes with videos that you can watch, and I was excited that I'm not gonna have to do all the teaching, and it also comes with the PDF of all the curriculum that you can print out, so it's just like you would have the book version plus the videos are the extra that you get from buying the online subscription. And my daughter just didn't like it. She said the lessons were just too long and they were boring, even though there were some games built in. So I thought it was going to be a really fun curriculum. And there's so many people that recommend this curriculum that I was really excited about using. It just didn't work. Not for us. I might in the future try to go back to it just because we do have all the PDFs. So we could still use it in the future. Maybe in a few months she'll just change her mind and maybe she'll like it more. Maybe I can work on trying to make it more fun, but as of this year, this curriculum just really didn't work for us. As of right now, we also used Teach Your Child to Read and 100 Easy Lessons. This book is great for some kids, so it's much cheaper than Logic of English. So if you just want to try something out, I would definitely start with this one just because the cost difference is huge. But overall, my daughter also didn't like this. There's 100 lessons and we got through 46 and she really didn't want to keep doing it anymore. It just got really bored. I think you definitely could learn to read just using this book, but if your kid is bored and is not loving it, then I don't think it's worth pushing to finish the curriculum. So we stopped using it. We actually tried this first before we started with Logic of English, and once my daughter was bored with this one, we switched to Logic of English, which she also didn't enjoy as much. So actually just recently she asked me if we could just switch back to this book. So we might next year pick this book up again and finish a few lessons. Who knows? Another thing we used for language arts was the classical poetry collection by the Thinking Tree. And we used this while we were doing our poetry tea time. So we would make tea, eat some cookies, read some poetry together as a family, and then while I was reading some poetry, my daughter would fill out this journal that has some coloring in here and it has some words that she would have to make it bold and colorful. So it teaches you reading. There's also some classical poems already in here, so you can read that with your child, and then they just learn some of these words out of this book. So this book was a hit. My daughter actually really enjoyed it. I think the reason why she enjoyed it is because of how we were doing it, because we did the poetry tea time and she just loves poetry tea time. Poetry tea time is like her favorite thing to do. And if sometimes it was a Tuesday and we didn't do poetry tea time that week and she would realize that it's Tuesday, she would instantly ask, why aren't we doing poetry tea time? She definitely never wanted to skip poetry tea time. This was her favorite part of school. Another thing we started doing was explode the code. We started with book 1, now she's on book 2, and I definitely knew that we need to do some phonics school, especially since we quit using Logic of English. This is pretty much what we started using instead. And in Explode the Code, there's just very simple black and white, fill in the blanks that just teaches you phonics. This book is great for teaching you phonics. However, again, my daughter didn't love it. We're gonna keep using it. I didn't let her quit this one just because we can't just quit everything she doesn't like. So we have to learn phonics somehow. So since this never took her that long, I'm like, well, just finish 1 or 2 pages and be done. So she was okay with that, but she's not loving it. She was okay with it at the beginning, and now she thinks it's boring. Again, maybe it's because it's not so colorful, but for some reason she's not a big fan. But I like this book. I think it's a really good program that can really teach kids phonics very well. Up next was literature, and for the literature we decided to use 5 in a row. This is an older version of 5 in a row volume 1. You can buy a newer version, however for me it didn't really matter. So in volume 1 it comes with a list of, I think, about 20 books. And so you get books, for example, Papa Piccolo. This was one of our favorite books that we did. And you read that book with your child 5 days in a row. So every day for a week, you read that book. And then after you read the book, you do some kind of activity that is described in this book. So for example, on day 1, you would learn social studies and you would learn about geography. Since this book takes place in Italy, in Venice, you would learn about Venice. You look on the map, find it on the map. Then on day 2, you could learn about history, maybe learn about Marco Polo. On day 3, you could learn language arts and some kind of vocabulary, where there's a list of vocabulary and you talk about all those new words that are in this book. On day 4, you could learn about art, and we did the creating the illusion of speed from this book. You show your child this illustration, and then you try to recreate illusion of speed. And then on day 5, you could learn either math or science. So there's an activity where you practice counting. But we on day 5 did science, learning about human body, peripheral vision. So I really like this curriculum. However, we didn't use it as much as I was planning on using. I was planning to do 1 book every month. So again, I wasn't planning on using it all the time as our main curriculum, but I was planning on doing 10 books this year. We probably only did 4 or 5. So we still didn't go through all the books that we planned on doing. We might still come back to this curriculum next year. Another thing that we used was the 100 must-know sight words workbook. And this one I just got off of Amazon. It's a cheap workbook. We didn't do that much writing with my kindergartner this year, so I thought this would be a good workbook to learn sight words and then practice some writing at the same time. So there's a sight word, they have to trace it, write it, then it's used in a sentence and they have to write the whole sentence out. And we pretty much finished it. We did all 100 sight words. So I guess that was a hit. It's not like super exciting, but my daughter didn't complain much. She liked coloring some of the pictures. So every once in a while she felt like coloring them, and she likes the sentences about the animals. So yeah, she enjoyed this workbook. Another thing that we did for language arts was these Preschool Prep little books and Preschool Prep DVDs. So we love Preschool Prep DVDs. They My son used just those to learn how to read, and now my daughter, she doesn't love them as much as my son used to. However, we have the DVDs in the car, so anytime we're driving somewhere, they're just playing along. So she's kind of forced to watch it, and she did learn a lot from it. And then you can buy these books that there's just these tiny little books, and these are about blends. So there's just these pictures and a little bit of reading on each page. And this one has 2 books in one. And we also have other ones, like these ones are sight words. So the sight words, you just practice the words from the sight word DVD. So it comes along with what you're watching in the DVDs. The words line up perfectly. So this is what we've been using mostly for reading, and I like it. I think it went pretty well. My daughter doesn't love reading, but she did it, so I would say that was a win. We also had few more of the Thinking Trees journals for my daughter. This one was 100 words to read, write, spell, and draw. And another one she used was the kindergarten workbook. We used the kindergarten workbook a little bit more. We did it more like for fun. When she didn't feel like doing school, I just told her to do a few pages in that workbook. This one, she started on it. We didn't get very far with it. So it's like a poem that you read, color a picture, and then you trace some words, you draw a habitat or a food for that picture, and then you repeat the same poem. You underline some words, fill in the blanks, and then there's another poem about a different animal. So yeah, we did few of them. We didn't go very far. She didn't love it that much. But this is the workbook that she definitely loved. It was her favorite. Thinkeractive workbooks. We have some other ones for different subjects, but this one for English, for language arts, she loves all of them. So this was a definite hit for my daughter. If she could choose what to do for school, she would always pick these workbooks. So how do they work? For example, lesson 1, there's a poem you read, you learn about letters and alphabet, you trace the alphabet in a soup, trace some letters, then you match letters, capitals with lowercase, then you learn about your name, and you find items that start with the same letter as your name. So she had to draw those 4 items to match her name. And then there was always some kind of Thinkeractive activity that she loved. This is why she loved these books. So for example, here we made a Maya soup because her name is Maya. So after she found those 4 items that start with the same letters as her name, she would put all those items in a soup and pretend to make her own soup. Or you could use actual food items. I don't remember what she used, but she really enjoyed this activity. So she used milk, apple, yogurt, and almond. And she mixed it all together and she made a Maya soup. My daughter really loves these workbooks, so this was definitely a hit, and I already bought all these Thinkeractive workbooks for the 1st grade. We're definitely going to keep using those. The very last thing we used for language arts was the morning bins by the Muffet Girls. You can buy their stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers. So when they had a sale going on, I purchased these morning bins, and I put each one activity in a separate bag. Since there were some things that needed to be cut out and all that, it was just easier for me to keep it like that. So I'll just show you a few of them. So most of them are about language arts, but not all of them. So for example, this one you had to match the sentence, read the sentence, find a picture, cut it, paste it, and trace the sentence. So she had many of these. Let me find another activity. This one's about blend segments and blank cards. So you have a word that you read d, dr, dr, drip, and then you find a picture that matches that what you just read. We use these. Definitely a lot of the stuff that Muffet girls make are very fun, so my daughter didn't complain as much when she needed to do those. I would recommend that. However, we didn't use as much as I thought we would use, so maybe don't overbuy, because you're definitely not going to use as much as you think you will, and you can always buy more. So that's about it for language arts. Let's move on to math. And for math, our main curriculum for math was Math You See Primer. And Math You See Primer comes with a DVD, which we pretty much never used, just because the lessons in here were so quick and easy that I just didn't feel like there was a need for watching the video that tells you how to work on it. And really, my daughter just instantly knew how to solve these problems, so we just didn't want to waste time on the DVD. But Math You See also comes with these number blocks that I keep in a fishing tackle box. And in this tackle box, let me show you. So it opens up, and I have all the number blocks. So there's number 1, there's number 5, and so on. And there's these big ones for 100. So you can use these when you work through this book. And this is what sold me on this curriculum, is because I thought these number blocks are just awesome. And my daughter does like using them, so she doesn't always use them, not for every lesson, but at the beginning of the lesson, when she feels like she needs some help, she's definitely using them, and she's enjoying using them. So anytime when there's some kind of math problem that she's like, I don't know how to do this, all I have to say is, use your number block. So she's like, oh yeah, and then she knows how to do that math problem. So what I think about Math You See Primer, I feel like my daughter enjoyed it. She never complained about math. It was really quick and easy. You just do 1 page a day, so you literally, there's not much on the page. So for example, for this day, you would just do this one problem, and on the back side of it is again not much there at all. So it was really quick and easy. It literally took my daughter 5 minutes to complete this. The only problem with it is that I feel like it was too quick and too easy. So my daughter enjoyed it. She wants to keep using Math You See. I don't know if we're gonna keep using Math You See. I didn't like it as much as my daughter did. So I feel like 5 minutes a day may not be enough to learn math. I don't hate this curriculum, but I don't love it either. I feel like there might be something better out there. So even though I already have the alpha level, so we might use it next year, I'm not sure, because we actually bought it at a garage sale. So I bought multiple levels. I think I have the first 5 levels of Math You See already purchased. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep using it or not. This curriculum didn't work for my son for the pretty much same reason. It was just way too easy, and he just finished so quickly that he didn't retain as much. So now he's using Beast Academy, and I feel like we might be going that direction. She's definitely not ready for Beast Academy yet, just because level 1 in Beast Academy I feel like is more like 2nd grade math. So we're probably not going to use Beast Academy right away, but I don't really know what we're going to use for math. I'm not sure if we're going to keep using this, even though my daughter really likes it. So we'll see. What else do we use for math? We also use Prodigy Math on the internet. It's a little game that she likes doing because her brother sometimes plays Prodigy and they can go in the same world and they can kind of see each other there. So she likes that aspect of Prodigy game. But that was just like a supplement. It's not something we used regularly. And another thing that she loved is, again, the interactive workbook. So again, there's some counting, there's some mazes, and then at the end of the lesson, there's always that hands-on activity with very simple stuff that you find around the house. So I never had to prepare ahead of time. Whatever was in there, we always could just do it without any problems. Then there's let's make it. They're making spaghetti bridge right here. And then let's engineer. There's always some kind of problem where they really have to think a little bit more deep about these concepts. So my daughter loves those. We're gonna keep using them. They're definitely good workbooks. Now let's move on to science. For science, our plan was to use Generation Genius. And we used it. We watched the videos. Sometimes we did some science experiments. It was okay. I didn't love it. We might be looking for something else for next year. I think we might switch back to Mystery Science because I used Mystery Science earlier with my son and I actually loved Mystery Science better than Generation Genius. So we might be switching back to Mystery Science. But yeah, that was our science. We just watched some videos and did some experiments here and there. Not regularly either. For social studies, our plan was to use History Quest Middle Times together with my older son. However, that didn't work. I feel like History Quest is just way too advanced for kindergarten. Even though they say you could combine ages and use it with multiple ages, it just didn't work. We tried at the beginning when my son would listen to the audiobook and I would give some coloring sheets that come with that curriculum and my daughter would just color them. But overall, she was just bored. She wasn't listening. She didn't want to participate in history lessons at all. So she pretty much only joined us for the day when there was a hands-on activity in that curriculum. She would do the activity with us, but other than that, she didn't want to listen to the book. We really didn't do that much for social studies this year. We did a little bit of social studies when it comes to geography because that was built in 5 in a row. And we watched some YouTube videos here and there, and that's about it. My daughter is also learning Polish language, and for that we used Kubuś idzie do szkoły. Polish language is important to me since I'm Polish and my family speaks Polish, but my parents, for example, don't speak English. So it's important for me that my kids learn Polish so they can communicate with their grandparents. For art, we didn't use any curriculum. I just let them do art whenever they feel like want to do art. For gym, we just used some YouTube videos and they danced along. They also liked watching Adventure to Fitness. It's a really cool show because it kind of teaches you about social studies and geography and history while you are exercising. So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone right there. And I feel like that's about it that we used for our kindergarten this year. If you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like it. And I'll see you next time. Bye!